So we're going to be finding the standard deviation, and we have the two equations there on the right. The difference between them is if we have all of the samples, then it would be a population if we know all the data in that set. If we only know part of it, which would be a sample, then we use the equation below. Now you're going to notice a little bit of difference between the notation, and this can vary a little bit by textbook to textbook, but the most important thing is we're going to be dividing it by n minus 1 if it's a sample, or n if we know the whole population. So the first one on here says find the population standard deviation for this data set. And it does say population, so we know all of it. Now we could just do this really painstakingly with a pen and paper, but I'm going to use Excel. So the first thing I want to do is list out my values. I'm going to type in 96, 125, 80, 110, 75, and 100, and 121. Over here, I'm going to put in the average. So I just type in equals. I think you can just type in average in Excel. Make sure you have your parentheses. Highlight all the values I want. Push enter. It's going to give me a 101. I'm going to drag this down. And oops, I did not want that. So what I'm going to do now then is I'm going to hit equals, and I'm just going to click the cell above it because I want the 101 to be the same, and I'll click and drag put it down here so they're all 101. Now off here, a couple more things. I'm going to do this in 2 steps, I think. I'm going to do this in 2 steps. I'm going to take my x value and subtract it from my average. Push enter. I'm going to carry that down. Gives me these values, and then I'm going to square the number. So I hit equals, click on the cell, hit my caret, then 2 for the second exponent, and I'm going to click and drag this down. And we're getting close to being done. So I'm going to put equals. I'm going to add these all up. So I'm going to hit sum, parentheses, add these all up. Gives me 2200. I'll put this in there so we can clearly see it. It's the sum of the differences there, of the squared. And then we're going to divide by how many numbers that were there, which is 7. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to take the 2200, divide it by 7. It gives me about 314.286. And the last step is to take the square root. There's 2 ways to do that in Excel that I'm familiar with. We could take it to the 0.5 power, or we could take SQRT and then put it in whatever number you want. That also will take the square root and find the deviation, standard deviation, which is going to be about 17.7 if I needed to round it to the nearest tenth. And then we're going to do the other question, which was finding the sample variance. So we're going to use the equation that's a little bit lower right here for the, because we're given that it's a sample for the data of 5, 13, 9, 10, 5, and 12. So we have our data, and we just need to start by typing in 5, 13, 9, 10, 5, and 12. Our next column is going to be the average. So equals AVER, AGE, put the parentheses, highlight all the cells that you want, push enter, and I'm just going to copy this down. And these will all be 9. So I'm going to make a first, just a little column here to subtract them. So click on the cell I want, minus the other cell that I want. And then I'm going to click and drag, and then I'm going to take this and actually I'm going to slide this over just one spot, and I'm going to square this number that's in here. So take it, click on it, the cell to the second power, click and drag. Now I'm going to type in to find the sum of those numbers that the column I just did equals sum, and then we can highlight all the numbers that we want. Push enter. It's going to give us 58. Then we're going to divide by how many numbers that are there. So, and you can just type this in if you wanted to. You don't have to click on the cell. 58 divided by 5 because it's n minus 1. What you don't want to do is do 58 divided by 6 minus 1 because the order of operations would divide that number by 6 first and then subtract 1. That's why you get the 8.67. So make sure, you might just do this in your head, just write it down. Okay, it was 6, minus 1 is going to be 5. And the last step is to take this number and put in the square root. So we can put the caret to the 0.5 power, or type in what we want, SQRT, parentheses, and then type in what we want. And we should come up with the same answer. So round to the nearest tenth would be 3.4. If you have any kind of questions, ask your math teacher.